Hello everyone, TheMrTrails here. Took a little break over the past few days, and it wasn't a bad time to, because YouTube was having some pretty major issues during this time. The main reason I did though was I am hopelessly addicted to Pokemon Legends Arceus at the moment, because I only ever did my challenge run, I never did a casual playthrough, so now I'm doing one, and it's been really fun. But anyway, today we have the Stormclaw Dauntless Trials, and it's going to be the same as the previous trial. So this is Editor Me, and I realized that Stormclaw has Thick Skull instead of the combustion modifier, and this basically means to compete for a top time on this one, you actually have to use repeaters, which isn't a huge deal because they were meta for this trial already, but it's like, why take away the choice in the meta? So I don't really have anything new to say about it, but this got me thinking, what are all of the trials that haven't been used yet, as well as the ones that have been taken away? So today, I thought I would go over each of the behemoths and give my take on how likely I think they will be to make it into the trials, as well as how likely I think the ones that have been taken away might make a return. So starting off, we have Deep Frost Gnasher and Flameborn Gnasher, who have yet to make an appearance in Dauntless Trials. And because they have done many elemental variants before, I would not be surprised if this made an appearance at some point. Same concept goes for Spore-Struck Charog. Firebrand Charog is a pretty popular Dauntless Trial, but Spore-Struck Charog has its fair share of issues that makes me not want it in Dauntless Trials. But I mean, honestly, that would be nothing compared to Fenroar or Frostwolf, who also have yet to make a Trials appearance. The Embermane AI is bad enough as it is when you put it into the Trials arena, but making it a Fenroar or Frostwolf AI would likely be even more rage-inducing. It would be a somewhat challenging trial though. I would say Fenroar probably more so than Frostwolf, so it'd be interesting to see if they ever made it into trials. Now, one of the main behemoths, if you will, that hasn't gotten a trial yet is Hellion, and I think this is actually quite unlikely to get its own trial, mainly because of the lava mechanics. It would be an RNG dumpster fire to try and get a good time on this. This would probably be the only trial currently that would need to run fireproof to get a top time on, just because of how much RNG would be involved in not getting the fire to get on you. It would also probably have the second most HP out of any of these trials behind Bloodshot Shroud. Another behemoth that would likely have a lot of HP is Torgadoro. In fact, none of the escalation boss behemoths besides Malkarian are in Dauntless Trials. Maybe we'll be able to see them at some point, but I think the least likely to happen is Agharis. I say this because there are a lot of weird haptics that tie the escalation bosses to their arenas, but the only behemoth that doesn't show up in another game mode is Agharis. As with Gauntlet, we got all of the escalation bosses in the Gauntlet game mode. But as far as putting them in Dauntless Trials, I'm not sure who would be the most likely to get in. I'd probably just say Torgadoro because Malkarian is the first one, then Torgadoro, then Thrax, etc. But moving on, we have a behemoth that was removed from the trial rotation, and it's unclear if it's going to come back. And this would be Boreas, who was a kind of annoying trial to get a good run on, as it largely came down to bomber RNG. Did your bombers spawn at the right time, and did they spawn in the right place for you to get the buff from them? Or more importantly, did they spawn close enough to Boreas to get the stagger on it? What I do think is possible to have happen is have Lightbound Boreas replace it. Because it doesn't have that ice shield, it would be a lot less RNG involved to at least get a good run, or at least decent. Of course, there would probably still be some bomber RNG involved in getting the best time possible, but there wouldn't be an entire minute of difference between two trial runs just because of the ice shield or no ice shield. Another trial that got removed was Regular Drask. When Regular Drask trial was created, Thunderdeep Drask was not yet in the game, but now that we have Thunderdeep Drask trial, I doubt the regular one is going to come back. And the same thing goes for Shroud and Bloodshot Shroud. I would argue though that Regular Shroud is a much different fight in its own right, and probably deserves to still be in Dauntless Trials. But one behemoth that has left everyone basically baffled as to why it hasn't made a return yet is Regular Nezaga. The Shockjaw Nezaga, I mean. This was the very first trial, I think, and while they did go overboard with the modifiers on it, they kind of did this whole thing where they made every trial only have 2 modifiers. So I mean, bringing it back soon with 2 modifiers would make a lot of sense. What would really suck for a Dauntless trial though would be Savit. Savit is so active with no interrupts, I would almost wonder if Tempest would be the best Omnicell for this trial. Maybe Tempest is a bit of a stretch, but I do at least think Discipline would probably be better than Revenant on that trial. A behemoth that would also be very active and rather annoying is Alira. Alira does have interrupts, but they are pretty terrible to actually hit, and I'm not sure if baiting the interrupt would even be a reliable strategy, unless you were playing Axe maybe. But both of those trials, repeaters would probably be metaphor as you don't really spend stamina, and you'd probably need a lot of it for dodging. With the elemental variants I've already gone over, there's still 3 more I haven't talked about: Lightbound Koshai, Deep Frost Skarn, and Flameborn Rezakiri. I think Lightbound behemoths are the most likely to get into trials soon because there is literally only one Radiant trial, and this is because there is still no Valamir Dauntless trial. well. I don't think it's likely to happen though, because it would either be a lot of RNG with the orbs, or it would be a complete and utter domination of Valamir. Because fight-to-fight variants on Valamir, it's either you basically pummel him to death without him doing anything, or it's him bullying you with Skittles for a little bit here and there because they just happen to be hitting you. And the final trial that has not happened yet is Riftstalker. And on this one, I would say Riftstalker is so small that Discipline is probably better than Revenant in this case. And I think their main concerns on this one would probably be Riftstalker teleporting out of the arena. Beyond that, I'm not exactly sure why they haven't done this one yet. Riftstalker has a bunch of counterplay with its many interrupts, and it's the only Umbral Behemoth aside from Thrax that they haven't done yet. But those are all of the Dauntless trials that they have yet to do. Which one would you want to see the most? Let me know in the comments below. You can do that whole like and subscribe thing while you're at it, and I have been Trevor, I go by TheMrTrails, and I will catch you guys next time.